Welcome to episode 4 of Degen BJJ, coming straight off the mats of Matt House with me, Irish Mike, and my co-host
Ken, also known as Degen Drifter. Yeah, this is our first one after training, and I think it might be, well, for me, the most sober one I've done yet. So
I couldn't say the same because I was half hungover coming in this morning.
yeah, so let's see how we go. Let's see how we go. First time we've done a morning recording. So yeah, we left last week saying we were going to talk about kind of approaches to training. So I think, I've been training mornings all week. You don't make it to the mornings that often, mate.
But work,
yeah, obviously.
If my employers are listening, I am at an appointment right now.
Of course, it's a very important appointment. Clearly, the listeners are waiting. We're going to be a little bit late on the air with this one because obviously shift work and what have you's meant that we've had to squeeze this one in. So Mike's kindly attended an appointment that's allowed him to stop by and record. So yeah, like obviously you mostly train in the evenings, but this was a rare morning session for you. So what do you actually prefer, training in the evenings or training in the mornings? Do you have a preference?
I like evenings because I'm more awake. I find like you'd be a bit groggy in the mornings, you know what I mean? Because you'd be literally rolling out of bed to go train. And I do like, it is different though, because you're a bit more set up for the day then, I find, Yeah. But, other than that, I don't know. It's like evenings is grand because you're kind of in that going home to relax and shut down after training. You're totally decompressing from everything during the day, and you've just rolled. So like work doesn't seem so bad after some fella on your back trying to strangle you for 5 minutes,
Yeah, there's loads of memes and loads of internet things around the biggest challenge you have in the day is doing jiu-jitsu, so it makes everything else seem like not as bad. And I do think there's some truth to that. I do think it kind of gets taken to a ridiculous degree sometimes.
The same with everything, like.
Yeah, you have a proper shit day, it's still going to be a shit day regardless of whether you've done jiu-jitsu or not in the morning. But there's a lot to be said for it. I think I prefer the mornings personally. I've always been more of a morning person, to be honest. Once it starts getting a little bit dusk or dark outside, that's time for a pint or something else to relax with. So I do love the morning sessions. I love the warm-ups we do. We do like at our spot, we do a little yoga warm-up, like it's more like a yoga and then straight into a flow roll. I guess we'll talk a bit more about warm-ups in a minute, but I do really like that warm-up. One thing I would say for me about the morning classes is the rolls tend to be, firstly you get less rounds because it's just an hour class, you don't have a half hour open mat, but also
that's kind of nice though in the morning as well, because not having the extra half an hour of extra rounds, like
you don't want to do your bollocks at
you don't want to go
7 a.m. and then you're going into work just looking for places to nap. Actually, our coaches told us a little story earlier about when he was a blue or purple belt and he was working as a sales exec, and he'd go for conditioning class in the morning, and then would have to bowl out and get to his appointments to sell like food into these shops. And as soon as he'd done a couple of deals, so he had something to write in the book that he'd actually been working, he'd just crash out in the motor for an hour and recover. I was like, that's one way to do it. It did give me
living the dream, like.
Yeah, that's proper degen in it. Burning the candle at both ends. Still delivering on your work promises, but also making sure you get your training in too. I was like, it gives me a little bit of hope that we all start from somewhere. And he was in his 30s and he's obviously made a pretty solid life out of jiu-jitsu now. So it's never too late.
Footsteps
guys.
To follow in the sand. Yeah.
It's never too late. So we got this morning's training out of the way, which was nice to get in the bag. Like you say, get a few rounds in. One of the things I do notice is people like sparring partners, unless it's like the people that. You've always got those sparring partners that the second you have a roll with them, it's like a death match.
It's you for me.
First grips. It's it's going to be a proper go. But generally, the mornings, the rolls seem to be a little bit
more relaxed.
A little bit more relaxed, yeah. And
kind of like Saturday rolls. Saturday rolls are very relaxed as well.
Speak for yourself. I haven't experienced that. People are trying to kill me on Saturdays, but yeah, I do think like I wouldn't just want to do more. Although I prefer the mornings, I wouldn't just want to do those, because I find like when I've been on lates for a couple of weeks and I end up
doing nothing but mornings,
I come back to an evening class and
everyone is in evenings as well.
Get lit up a little bit in the sense that like I'm like, I forgot what a pace people put on you when they're not half asleep in the morning. But yeah, it is all.
All the mornings are mixed though, are they?
All the mornings are mixed classes.
So then you're doing advanced in the evening, so you're going higher belts, aren't you, and higher.
Yeah, I guess in theory you could have. I think the morning classes are lower attended, aren't they, as well?
Yeah,
so you don't have as deep a mat. You might have a couple of blue belts, one purple belt, and a few black belts. Whereas like a lot of our advanced classes in the evenings now, you've got
couple of rounds.
The majority of the mats is purple, brown, and black. Like, so that's so that is one thing. But I think, as I said last week, really, mate, we're blessed. We're blessed with what we've got. Being able to train morning, lunchtime, and evenings. I do like the lunchtimes as well. Actually, I think I'm just
you love it all. Like.
I was going to say I think I'm just a lazy bastard and want to get it done. Like I know I want to train, but I also don't want to.
If you get it out of the way first thing, sometimes it's my jiu-jitsu's done for the day. Now I can focus on something else. Like. Yeah,
for sure. Speaking of, because the reason I like to do my jiu-jitsu in the morning is because sometimes I like to lift or go for runs in the evening, and then it can be, for me, I prefer to do it in that order. But we said, we kind of alluded to it a little bit in the competition episode where we talked about Europeans, and we talked about it a little bit last week with your return, or not so much of a return to training after the competition.
In fairness, I have been very good in returning this week.
Yeah,
I've done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and today.
You've made up for it, but obviously I'm
back, baby.
along with your on the mat training. Do you do anything off the mat at all, or are you just get more? Because I remember when you first joined, I remember thinking this fella here is here all the time.
Yeah,
you didn't take a day off.
When I was white belt, I used to do 7 hours, 7-8 hours, always, and I'm trying to get back to that. But it was just more the classes were suited, I think, at the time, because they were all early classes, and it suited me better. But I do miss that. I often think that you're not putting in the same pace you used to. What's wrong with that? And I think it's just. Alcohol probably get more involved than anything, you know what I mean? It's just going for a pint instead. And that, I had a bad day at work Wednesday, and I was like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to have fucking 10 or 15 pints. And I said, you know what, I won't. I'll go and I'll do jiu-jitsu. Because it just went through my mind conversational last week. I was like, just drink got in the way. Well, so I'm not going to let it get in the way this week. So 4 days out of 5 so far.
You have a good session on Wednesday, yeah?
It was actually. Do you know what? It was worth going, 100%.
It was hard. I find those ones I've got this thing when whenever I start making those mental excuses to skip training.
That's what it was, excuse, yeah.
Where you're like, I've trained pretty hard already this week, or my neck's a little bit sore from that guillotine that Mike put me in the night before.
It never happened, I wish.
He never finished, but he squeezed.
I'd scream it from the rooftop.
He squeezed damn hard. So as soon as I start finding myself making those mental excuses, I'm like, oh, no, that means I have to train because, I'm looking for a little out in my mind. So that's one thing I have. You were
asking, the original thing I cut across you, sorry. But no, I don't do anything else. Basically, if I have any other time, it's just any spare time goes into jiu-jitsu, and that's it. It's any spare time, because I don't think I'm going to get better at jiu-jitsu at this stage of my life by weight training. Now I know it would help you get stronger and maybe make you a bit more fitter or athletic or whatever, but I will start going running again. Well, I won't say again because I've never ran in my life.
You joined us for the conditioning before the fleet competition, though. Our coach ran a 6-week conditioning course and kind of set a blueprint for us. I think for Europeans, only me and Jürgen followed that blueprint again.
I planned on doing it and didn't.
Yeah, it was tough. It is tough to get up in those mornings and run. Jiu-jitsu's fun, right? Jiu-jitsu's super fun. So for me, I'm kind of blessed.
Best thing you do with your clothes on.
I live a 5-minute walk from the gym, so I'm kind of blessed in the sense that it never feels like a chore because I get to just walk up the road and then do something fun. Whereas I don't know, I think only sadists appreciate running. Yeah, I do a fair bit of cardio. I'll do 1 or 2 cardio sessions a week, one short and one longer state.
Yeah.
I have a somewhat different approach to my jiu-jitsu training than you do.
I'm just I'll train jiu-jitsu if I'm going to train jiu-jitsu, but obviously if we have a comp coming up, my gas tank is my biggest letdown, and from white belt to now, whatever couple of years I've been training, everybody always says breathe, and I'm like, you fucking try and breathe with this cunt on top of you, you know what I mean, trying to take your life, do you know what I mean? I just breathe fast all the time, but it's something I'm going to have to learn how to control, you know what I mean? Obviously I'm still growing as a blue belt, you know what I mean? So things will come. Hopefully.
If you don't grow, Mike, I'm concerned for you.
I don't know.
But yeah, I forgot what I was saying there, but Oh yeah, with a different approaches to training and doing the off the mat training. I think there's a, you know, I do like your approach of like, yeah, get more mat hours, but I do think there's a point of diminishing returns, like where your body's getting beat up, you know, you're not able. We talked about this, I think, very briefly. Like, I would rather do a double jiu-jitsu session where I do a morning and an evening, and eat and refuel and rehydrate in between. When I do those 2.5, 3 hour mat sessions, I find the last hour, you know, is kind of running on fumes. I don't retain as much technique, you know. A lot of the time the sparring of it, the last few rounds will be purely just on the defensive, and I think there's a time and a place for it, but I don't think that should be your standard training modality.
Because otherwise you're not learning properly, and then you're not executing. Probably leads to getting injured more as well, like, because you're not.
It's one of the biggest things I hated about boxing was like amateur boxing. Is like they would blitz you doing circuits and stuff like that, and then you do your skills work. Like the first gym I ever trained at, it would be like it would be a 2 hour session. The first hour would be all circuits, and you'd be absolutely blasted. And then they'd be like, right, now we're going to do your skill work. But it's like,
can't retain the information properly.
I can barely keep my hands up, and then your coach is going to be going ballistic because you're getting the wrong patterns on the pads. And it's like, I barely know where I am right now, mate, let alone being able to string together a sequence of punches. And I quite like the way that, you know, I know that jiu-jitsu gyms do have a warm-up, which I want to talk about a bit later, because most of them have a similar style of warm-up that, I'm not sure. I
mean, you have a lot of experiences just going on to warming up and stuff. Like when you were in South America, like that must have been a different experience to see how they warm up. I mean, we do our warm-up where we're running around circles, we stretch out both arms, legs, do you know what I mean? It's step in, step out, you know, that kind of crack. Do our forward rolls, backward rolls, spider crocodile, and all that. Like, but when you were in South America, what was the training like there for warm ups?
I'll talk about actually. So when I first got to Rio, right, like I'll talk about how I ended up in Rio another time. But let's just assume that
we know you're there. Right?
But by hook or by crook, I ended up in Rio de Janeiro, and I actually through my time in Brazil, I actually travelled through quite a lot of gyms. In my bopping around the UK, I've trained quite a few places as well, and I'm not going to lie, mate, the warm-ups generally take a pretty similar structure. That's why I love our morning warm-ups when we do the flow yoga and then a flow roll, because I think that, you know,
something different as well.
It's very different and is a nice warm-up. But so when I first landed in Rio, I landed the 2 days before Carnival started. So I was living, as we kind of talked about before, I was living up north, and I went out to South America, and the first thing that hit me when I got out there, mate, was the heat. I'd lived in Australia, but it's a different sort of heat in Sydney to what we had in Rio.
It's more humid.
So I actually planned on getting there, doing some jiu-jitsu, and then because the whole city shuts down for the entire carnival period. So like a week, 10 days, all businesses and stuff are shut. You know, other than like
for mayhem, pure DJ stuff going on.
Proper mayhem. So my plan was, right, I'm going to get there, I'm going to get some jiu-jitsu in, and I'm going to enjoy carnival and then carry on training after. Get there, get completely overwhelmed by the heat on day one, and I think I had an overnight flight where I hadn't been able to get to my terminal in Portugal in time, so I ended up having to kind of sleep, but not even through the terminal, like sleep in the kind of entrance foyer to the airport whilst I waited for the gate to reopen, the boarding to reopen. So I hadn't slept, and I spent my first about 24 hours in a Rio hostel. Like,
were you lying on your bag, or were you sitting on the chair? Were you on the floor lying down like a
proper lying on the floor,
homeless look,
with my backpack propping my head up like Tom Hanks in Terminal. The guy on the waxer, I think he was like doing this completely out of intent. Every moment that I'd like just be about to drop off, he'd bring the waxer right about a millimetre from my head. I'd startle awake thinking the world was falling in, but I ended up in Rio. And long story short, I slept and struggled with humidity for my first 2 days, and then Carnival kicked off. Carnival was phenomenal for the partying and the good times and the stories.
Yeah.
Incredibly detrimental to my fitness and mental well-being.
And how jiu-jitsu went the next day.
And my jiu-jitsu. And I remember, like, coming to a point where like carnival was over and like, you know, because everyone was like, you know, backpackers, you carry on drinking and partying.
You don't stop.
After the carnival was finished. And I remember one night we were out at this rave and I had this guy had a jiu-jitsu tattoo. Like in Brazil, like, quite a lot of guys do jiu-jitsu. It's still not like, I think a lot of people that have never been there think like, oh, jiu-jitsu in Brazil, it's like everyone knows about it. Like
Rob said judo is more popular in Brazil.
100%. Judo's a bigger sport there, and you.
Shout out Rob Crawford.
Yeah, the sport of all sports in Brazil is football. You know, everybody loves football. You know, and like I was surprised compared to the UK. You know, walking around Copacabana, you'd see like the original De La Riva Academy. Like we on the hostel I stayed in, and then ended up working in the bar for a bit. We had the if it's not the OG Carlson Gracie gym, it's one of on the same street.
Okay.
So I've had this. I'm like kind of in the 10 days after I've got there, I've almost forgotten about jiu-jitsu. I've almost forgotten my name. I've almost forgotten a lot of things. Right.
Lost a bit of your dignity as well.
I've lost almost all of it. Yeah. I damaged a few brain cells, but I see this guy with a jiu-jitsu tattoo, and I've really got like the next day. I've got, regardless of this hangover,
whatever's happening, I got to go do
push
some
myself
jiu-jitsu
through to training. So. Looking for the gym in a foreign country, like, you know, the websites, jiu-jitsu websites are notoriously bad at being updated, right? You know, coaches don't update their schedules. You might have a schedule from a few years ago. So I knew, and like one of the guys in my hostel had said, oh yeah, there is a jiu-jitsu gym on this road, but like finding it was a bloody nightmare. And the address that was on the website was taking me to like a little Havaiana, like flip-flop shop that was on the end of the street corner. And there were some double doors next to it that looked like they were going to some flats, and they had the same number as the flip-flop shop above them. So I was like, oh, well, I'll just on the off chance I'll go there.
Is it in the back of the flip-flop shop? So
the first time I went up these stairs, and on the first floor there was some sort of like, I can only describe it as like a I don't know if it's a Pentecostal church, but you know where they're doing all the singing and the hymns.
Okay.
So they were kicking off with all of that, and I was like, this cannot be the right place. So I went like a bit dejected. I was like, oh, I've come here with the intentions to train. I thought there was a class on. As I'm walking back down the stairs, there's a fella that's walking up the stairs in a tank top. He may or may not have been humming of green. He may have had a J before, and I don't want to cast any aspersions, but he had on his shoulder a massive Carlson Gracie tattoo, and then he had another jiu-jitsu tattoo on the other one.
That's all in, like he's all in.
And bearing in mind at this point I speak no Portuguese other than I've looked up how to say, can I train jiu-jitsu here? So,
and even your butcher and that.
Yeah, 100%.
You're like saying, can I walk your dog is probably what it is.
So this fella who I actually is Parakeeto with eyes. It's like Parakeet BJJ. He was a black belt, it turned out, at Carlson. So I give him my little one line, and I see his eyes light up. Like he's got this random gringo on a stairway,
speaking
in a back end of Copacabana, speaking something that sounds like remotely like Portuguese, and then he obviously recognised the word jiu-jitsu. And he's like, yeah. So he takes me up another floor past where the church is, and you see the wooden door with the two bulldogs on there.
Okay.
Carlson Gracie.
Like, I'm here.
And he's like, yeah, come in. He opens the door, and he actually lived up the coast in a place called Espírito Santo, and he was down there to teach a kind of, not like a private, but he was just covering a day class. Okay. He was in the area to do some privates, and because that was his original gym, he was just covering a class. So it ended up being me, him, another black belt, and another blue belt. That was it on the mat this day.
Jeez.
Because it was just a small like impromptu class for some of the guys that he knew. But he was like, yeah, come along.
And the body's still broken from the drinking from the previous weeks and then everything, and you're thrown into this.
Mate, and it wasn't like a classic class, right? So it was just, he was like, we're going to do no-gi, which isn't super common in Brazil. So most of the guys are just literally wearing swim shorts.
Okay, yeah.
So just swim shorts, no like rash guards
no
or
rash
anything.
Guards,
I've got a gi with me, so he's like, I'll just put the gi pants on and it's fine. And he was like a wrestling kind. It was like a wrestling class. So pretty much it was like, we started off with an entry to a fireman's carry, did a few reps of that, and then he taught a couple of other takedowns. And you know, this was completely different to what I was used to, like the classic warm-up where you run in the circles, you do your movements by like crocodile, cartwheels, all of that, and
Yeah.
then, you know, so this was like literally just straight into the technique, and I was like, what's going on here? Then we got into the rolling. We had a fun class. I got smashed by everyone. One of the guys spoke really good English, so he like sat around with me afterwards and gave me some tourist tips in Rio. I ended up meeting up with him for some beers near his local
See, jiu-jitsu people are just the best people in the world.
Absolutely class. He'd actually lived over in London for a few months and had trained at Rogers'
Oh.
spot. So like he was a really cool geezer, and he invited me with him back to a full practice the next evening.
Okay, that's cool.
And then when I came to that was with a fella called Marcelo Saporito, who's I think a 7-stripe black belt, five or 7-stripe black belt, one of Carlson's original
OG,
black belts. Yeah, he's on Instagram, Marcelo Saporito BJJ, and that was more of a normal class, right? That was more what I expected. You know, you got there. The coach, there was two other gringos there, thankfully, because you know, turning up to it. How intimidating is it turning up to a white belt class anyway? When you're a white belt, turning up to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it is. It's just even, and especially if you're even the mixed level class is intimidating, and you're seeing like even blue belts. You're like, oh my god, you're going to get smashed. And when you're starting, a lot of people are nice and take it easy on you, but some guys still want to go, I'm going to practice what I know, and this, I need, this is one guy I can practice my stuff, because when you're coming down and when you're doing your advanced and you're going against purple belts all the time, and then you're in a mixed class and white belt says, hey, do you want to spar with me? You go, yeah, I'm going to practice my shit now. You just get smashed.
I'm going to highlight reel on you whilst coach is looking to see if he'll give me that next coveted stripe. So yeah, I ended up going to, you know that nerves that you all get?
Yeah.
Imagine times...
Nervous piss. I used to always nervous piss. Sorry to cut across it. Every time I used to go into, when I was white belt, I'd come in, I'd be after going before I'd leave the house, and when I get into the gym and change gear, I'd be after going upstairs, I have to have nervous piss.
You know what the bathrooms are like at competitions, right?
Yeah.
Annihilated.
Yeah.
And it's the same sort of thing. So imagine that in a country which is known to be the home of the sport, where you don't speak the language, and you're not even sure if you're going to be welcome back to the gym, because the guy that's invited you, you know, Brazilians are notorious for, you know, saying, yeah, let's do, like it's in multiple times out there, people would be like, yeah, let's meet for a drink, and I'd rock up to the place and be like, oh,
what are you doing here?
Nobody's coming. Oh, okay. No one's coming to meet me. So I was like, I don't even know if anyone's going to meet me there.
Okay.
Rocked up, and Marcelo was super sound. He doesn't speak any English, or very little English, but he got one of his guys to translate for me.
Oh, cool, yeah.
So he'd always partner us up with people that spoke our language. So although the lesson would be in Portuguese, we'd have someone who could translate it.
Yeah. That's cool.
And he regularly made this joke. He was like, I don't speak English, but I speak jiu-jitsu. You know,
it's a universal language.
Universal language and movement. So I'm shitting my pants going into the changing room to get changed, not literally, figuratively. By the way,
secret joke there.
Yeah, and then these two Yanks are in there, a brown belt and a purple belt, and they kind of took me under their wing a little bit, and that was much more of a traditional class. I've kind of really gone off topic here. I think I've gone on about a 15-minute ramble, mate.
It's fine, mate. That's what people want to hear.
The real point of it is that, you know, most classes have that classic warm-up.
Yeah.
You know, where you will do some type of either running in circles or star jumps to get your heart rate up. You will do some type of movement, whether it be shrimps across the mat, crocodile walks, things like that. And then you might have a flow roll, but then it will generally be the coach shows technique. You'll drill the technique, and then there'll be either positional sparring and sparring, or you'll go straight into sparring. The big difference in Brazil, which I haven't really had in the UK other than at one gym, is the coach, actually Lucas, who we're going to catch up with next week, he does this at his gym. He pairs people up.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know whether it's a Carlson's thing, or I don't know whether
he just goes straight into it, doesn't he?
Or it's a tradition thing. Yeah, he goes straight into the class, but when it comes to rolling or drilling, he'll often...
He tells you who you're going with.
And that was a big thing in Brazil. In this big class with Marcelo, that first proper class rather than the one with Piraquito, he paired us up with his higher belts, and the whole gym, right, got round in a circle and watched first the brown belt Yank, then the purple belt American. I can't actually remember both of their names. One of them was Eric. I still follow them both on Instagram. Super safe guys. We went
Shout
up the
out
road.
to the boys.
Yeah, we went up the road and got acai afterwards. They were there purely on a jiu-jitsu holiday, right? They'd come out
or
there
they
purely.
just only
They'd come out there. They've got an Airbnb and they were training 2-3 times a day every day, and they were out there for like 10 days or something. Because obviously it's a much easier flight from the southern states than it is for us in coming over from the UK, and I saw those guys sparring. Like I think the brown belt went with one of Marcelo's black belts, and the purple belt with a brown belt, and I'm like, I know that he's going to pull me out of the crowd next.
Yeah, you're going to get a go. Yeah.
So he pulls me up, and then he selects this brown belt, and he's like, he'd obviously spoken to one of the guys that had been training with us, me and
previously.
the guys in the day previously, had said something to him. And like before we start rolling, he's like, no, this round we go no gi. So
you were doing all gi, and then you decided for your round to go no gi.
The whole class was no gi, and then for my class, for our round, for sometimes he's like, no, this one we're going to do no gi. So we both take our gi tops off. We're both in gi pants. It's like the sweltering 32 degrees heat of Rio de Janeiro. I've got a load of Brazilians round us on the mat, and we have this little no-gi go.
Fight club. Yeah, Brazilian fight club.
Brazilian fight club. I'm sure to this day that he let me get it, but I hit a single leg on this Brazilian fella that we'd been drilling at SBG before I flew out there. Like I say, I'm sure he let me hit it. But either way, the pop I got from the gym when I took him down was to this day, it's one of my favourite jiu-jitsu memories. As soon as it hit the ground, he murdered me. Absolutely murdered me.
He's like, oh, you think you're getting somewhere, do you?
So I don't know whether it was the fact that like I just had caught him off guard with the quick single, or whether it was actually like he just let me get it to give me something before he embarrassed me in front of everyone. Either way, still to this day, one of my fondest jiu-jitsu memories after the round, Marcelo said to all three of us, like, this is your home when you're in Rio. If ever you want to come back and train.
That's super cool, isn't it?
And then I was volunteering at the hostel, making caipirinhas for the guests. And,
see, like I don't even know what that is. Like.
It's I'll make you. Well, it's a bit early in the day for one now, but I'll make you one another day. It's like pretty much cachaça, which is like similar to Bacardi. It's like a white sugarcane based spirit with lime and just piles of sugar, mashed up, ice, shaken. It's like they love it over there. They do like passion fruit ones, but the classic one is just lime, sugar, and cachaça with ice. Banging, mate. Like gets you absolutely annihilated, but
that's what we're aiming for.
Super sweet, super cool. Like it's refreshing on a hot day. Like, but yeah, it's the national drink of Brazil. Like whenever you're on Copacabana Beach, you've got people walking around with trays going caipirinha, caipirinha.
Yeah, when I was actually at a Carlson's as well when I went on holiday last year. In Corralejo, and I was
going to say you've trained abroad as well.
Yeah, so. It's the only I think it's the only time really, to be honest. But Luis Mazinger, I hope I'm saying that right. He's Mazinger team. He's like the dude is just. Tell you
what, in the bio, I'll tag all the guys that we've mentioned. I'll put all of their Instagrams in the description. So if you want to check any of them out or check their shit out, give them a look, give them a follow.
It's a good idea. We'll probably do that moving forward.
People. Yeah, no. Sorry to cut over you.
No, it's
quite a cutty episode, man. Cutting each other up.
That's the way to do it.
But yeah, so you were over in Carlson's over there. How was that? How did that run compared to what you were used to?
So like it's 30 degrees, but it's like that Spanish heat. It's not like nowhere near as humid as what you're talking like. But you're still in. We were done it in the gi, and it was just after getting my blue belt, a couple of months. I didn't really still don't feel like I'm blue belt, but. Yeah, we started with warm-ups. The warm-ups were crazy. The warm-ups went on for half an hour. We were doing stair jumps. We were doing this thing where they'd set everyone up in a position. Like one person would be bent over like frog. You'd have to jump, put your hand on their back and frog jump over them. Then you'd have to dart through someone else's legs. And then you'd have to, I don't know, it was like a big sequence of thing. And everyone would move from the back and you'd assume the next position. And there was like 6 different positions and you'd have to run through people, slide through them. And it was just massive warm-ups. And there was like the traditional warm-ups that we do, but with other different kind of things that we don't do in movements, other movements. Sorry, use your words, Michael. But but it was about a half an hour. So like by the time we got into it, and then it was like an hour of the class. It was like they're doing half guard escapes is what he taught first. So he showed you how to escape from half guard. We all did that. Then he showed you how to stop someone from escaping, like the
So
counter
you
to
did the
that.
two sides of the same technique.
So like if someone tries to pass you with this technique, this is how you counter it, and you can take their back from there. And it was actually cool doing that. And
that's quite cool.
yeah, there was a purple belt there as well. I can't remember his name. I'm not sure if I'm following him on Instagram, but his arm was fucked at the time, and he actually had it tied up in his belt. And I sparred him, and he still beat me with one hand tied in front of his belt.
That says it all, mate. That says
But
it all.
yeah, I was paired up with
like
a blue.
Jacare against Roger.
Oh, when he broke his arm, yeah.
Mondial's final. Let the arm break to win on points.
That's just craziness. Like I do not have that much heart. Like I will tap.
As you should, mate. As you should. Like I say, unless it's the final of like a massive tournament.
Yeah, but if anyone's ever out in Fuerteventura or Corralejo, I would recommend. They have Carlson's out there that he trains. He's the black belt there, and he had very little English, but he was so cool, and he gave me a roll as well, which was class. Like, and I rolled against a few of the other belts there as well. All good people, same as you say, like so inviting. When you come back next, I like to drink a lot, as people have well gathered.
Yeah,
so
if they haven't and not paying attention.
I mean, I could not drink all day because the training was at 7 o'clock and you're on holiday, like, and the sun is shining. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, I didn't go back there, but I really wanted to. But as I say, we'll tag them in the comments.
But it does seem to be that same sort of
mentality.
That same sort of structure, doesn't it? You get your heart rate up by some sort of movement.
Yeah.
Then the coach shows a technique, and then the coach shows a technique. And then you'll either do positional sparring or some sort of sparring. It sounds like that one you went to though was more like what I was saying about the boxing warm-ups, where perhaps you maybe get a bit too fatigued before doing the technique. Like what is your opinion on the classic kind of running circle? It's all I've done. Jumps, warm-ups, like.
It's all I've done, so it's all I really know. So I don't really know anything different, but I do think like a lot of people are probably sitting at their desks all day, so you probably do need something to loosen you up. But it's like we had a conversation something like this for that hot cold thing. But I mean, jumping straight into technique isn't really like when you're going to warm up, you do need to stretch some bit, you know.
Yeah, and like. I to and fro on this because I agree, like I think there needs to be something to get you limbered up a bit, but I don't see why that can't be jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know, but then
floor rolling is fun, to be fair.
But let's talk about a first lesson white belt. You ask them to do jiu-jitsu to warm up, they're probably going to injure themselves. Like if you tell them to flow roll, they're not going to flow. Like
they're just going to spare.
To be fair, me and you were the flow roll this morning. I was like, we're flowing like ice, Michael. We're flowing like ice. It was not really that flowy. It was.
I'll take 90% of that responsibility.
I think that flow rolling is something you have to learn. It is a skill that's developed in time, and I do think those traditional warm ups definitely have a place in beginner and white belt classes, but. When you're getting more towards the advanced classes, I think something like one of our black belt coaches, Shaz, does a lot of the guard passing drills and stuff like that. Yeah. I think there's
something clicking in the background. Sorry if you're hearing it.
Some sort of connection clicking.
We'll just.
There we go. That's sorted. That. Apologies,
guys. Sorry for that. Like the two of us were just caught off guard. They were hearing clicking.
32 minutes in, so
you're probably.
No way in hell I am starting this again.
No.
But yeah, I think for the more advanced people that have done a little bit of jiu-jitsu, I myself hate doing like a warm up where you get really warm and then you get cold while you're doing technique, and then if you've got sparring partners you trust that know how to gradually amp up the kind of intensity through a roll, then fine. But sometimes you're not with those sparring partners, and you have someone that from the first second of the bell is trying to murder you, like it's like we were saying, like it's the final of a major tournament. Yeah. And in that case, you want to be warm before that. So
it's true, yeah.
I don't know. I again.
You can go back and forward on it,
I'm just a lowly blue belt, so my opinion counts for almost nothing. But I do like those classes where we do a little bit of a kind of flowy technique or flowy roll to warm up. Then we'll do the technique, and then we might do some positional sparring, which allows you to control the intensity a bit more and get warm, and then you go into your rolls. I think
it's like they say, a change is as good as a rest as well, though. When you just do something different to break it up from your normality, it's kind of nice as well.
Like you said with the yoga this morning, I'm interested to the listeners. I know most of the listeners are probably at our gym. The ones that don't do jiu-jitsu probably the three of them, you know.
Thanks to the family members.
Your mum and both of the girlfriends, the three listeners that don't do jiu-jitsu, probably won't have an opinion on this, but especially the guys at our gym that have trained in the mornings and the evenings, so they've got a bit of both sides of the coin with the yoga and flow roll warm up, and then the more traditional warm up. I'm interested to hear what other people prefer, and if they feel one is superior to the other. I do like classes that are structured with, like, you know, the intensity builds throughout, and the intensity is at its highest point at the end. I think that waving of intensity personally is a way to get injured, or a way to cause injuries. But that being said,
it depends on your training partners as well, doesn't it?
That being said, I've been pretty lucky in my 3-4 years of training and haven't really had many major injuries. I think this elbow pop and I have 5 days off, is the longest I've been off the mat with a jiu-jitsu related injury. I know that you're always injured, Michael, so that might be something.
I think it's something to do with
inflammation from excessive alcohol consumption.
Use. We'll call it alcohol abuse. We'll call it what it is. Like. But no, I'm going to actually start taking. We were talking about electrolytes. Even shout out Tom Lucas. Actually gave me a message.
Tommy Creonche, let's use his real name.
Yeah, I can't say that word properly because my Portuguese isn't great. But Tom sent me a link for. There's that clicking again. But Tom sent me a link for that. What you call it? Some electrolytes. So I'm going to start taking them with training now in water, and we're going to see what this thing is. Oh, it's gone again. Sorry about that, folks.
That was it's the connector. I think it's where your foot caught the wire there, Mike. Just to give you all a peek behind the curtain, as we don't have videos yet, we are currently sat in my loft. It is a loft conversion. We're not just sat in a loft.
Ken is balling, like, you know what I mean. He has a loft.
Balling in the loft.
The studio. He has a studio in his house.
The studio currently is me and Michael sat on beanbags in my loft. So yeah, the sound quality is actually better than we expected, considering when we're starting out. But it is, it is a work in progress. So thanks everyone for your patience. So yeah. Yeah,
sorry, we were going back. I'm going to actually start taking protein and electrolytes during training, because he was saying that the brain fog that you get, he said he used to get that, but when he has electrolytes, I only found out today that that's why you always have your water, because you have electrolytes in it as well. So I'm going to start doing that. I'm actually going to start taking the approach to training more seriously, and maybe getting fish oils and stuff like that as well.
For the inflammation.
My elbows are always fucked.
The biggest thing is, we can talk about nutrition.
My lack of Ken's always going to be the one that has everything proper, and I'm going to be the one.
You're going to see here, like, we touched on it a little bit at the beginning. Like, I like to do,
the proper things.
2 or 3 hours of weight training and a couple of hours of cardio on top of my jiu-jitsu each week. Michael
likes to do jiu-jitsu and drink.
Jiu-jitsu and pints. I still like my pints, but time and place for it. So we can pick that up. Like, this clicking is getting a little bit excessive. So you know what? Let's wrap.
We'll
this up.
Just call it there. Yeah.
Let's wrap this up pretty much here. I think next one will be the one with Luke North. So if you have got any questions for Carlson Gracie Farnborough black belt, Lucas North, drop him into the comments, or put them on the response.
Put them on Instagram even. I'll put up.
We'll put up a question.
I'll put up questionnaire thing on.
His teammate Sean White just fought Mika Galvao, and obviously Mika popped for roids. So although Sean might not have got the result he wanted in the round, it was a moral victory. So we'll definitely pick Luke's brain on that, and anything else you lot want to ask him, drop in the chat. Where is it that people can reach us, Mike? Where do they shout us?
Everything is Degen BJJpod, and we have an email as well. So it's degenbjjpod@gmail.com. But all the socials, Instagram is the best one, because look, I'm not a nonce. I did make a TikTok, because I reckon everyone that's on TikTok, you're only trying to lure kids. But it's just to get more follows, but it's not really working out. So we'll see what happens. Instagram is the best place. Degen BJJpod, or my own page. You're following me if you know it's Irish Mike. But what you want to end that on?
But we'll get Luke on next week. We'll talk about it, and obviously, like Mike said, drop us a message on socials. Cheers for listening this week, guys.
Follow, share, and subscribe, lads. We need them to get people put into the algorithm.
If you haven't played it to your nan, like I suggested last week, definitely give it a play to her. And if she's giving it a listen, play it to your cats. They might love it. Yeah. Much love, everyone.
See you guys. Thanks.
Catch you next time.